Yeah.
I remember.
See?
Thank you,
Good tip.
Amanda.
That was my
Yes. I not even wrote it down. Okay. Oh, there she is again. Okay. Hopefully we'll get her this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you guys could start, whoever wants to, by sharing a little bit about you, who you are, and share how you got a heart for the Lord and how He's given you a desire to make Him known. So,
And this is a 30-minute show?
well,
Have you ever talked to me and Heather before?
well, hey, I've got time, you know.
Go ahead, Heather.
Okay. Oh no.
Go ahead. Are you there, Heather?
There it is. There it goes. It's moving a little bit. Okay.
I have. Okay.
It's like all frozen for
Go
me.
ahead,
Okay.
Heather.
I know, Heather.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that we have her audio, but we don't have.
No, really?
You talking to me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think we have. Do we have Heather? Are you there? I think we have your. Okay, we have your audio, but we don't have your video.
I'm here.
I can see Heather. I can see you, Heather. You're just
you
a little slow
My
motion.
camera's
You're just a
on.
little slow
Oh,
motion.
good. Okay, so maybe it's just my
Okay.
computer. And why do we have Ann flashing? Do you guys have Ann flashing?
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe you have to accept her.
Oh,
I think she's just going in and out.
If we click her.
oh, okay.
Nope.
Okay, so yeah, either one. Who wants to go
Yeah.
first?
Okay. I am Amanda White. I blog
Go,
at
Amanda.
amanda.com, and I'm just a mom. You know, I grew up in children's ministry. My mom's a children's pastor my whole life, which back in the day was not a thing, that there was like children's pastors over elementary. You just had like a Sunday school teacher or something. So I grew up around like, you know, puppet ministry and drama and all that kind of thing. And that's what I did when I graduated from, well, that's what I did my whole life, and then graduated from high school and college and stuff. And my husband and I traveled. We were like children's evangelists and went to camps and churches and stuff as guest speakers, and did what kids evangelists do, puppets and magic tricks and songs and all that. And then I had kids when we were children's pastors too, and helped start a church. And then I had kids and decided, you know, I need to take care of my own kids. And then, you know, kind of ministry happened with my kids. And then I started writing about it on my blog. And so that's where I am now, is I am a mom, and I homeschool partially my kids. And we just, you know, I just try to teach them to love the Lord in our everyday life. So that's what I do.
Okay. Okay. Cool. What about you, Heather?
I grew up in a Christian home as well. And so I think it was modeled for me that God was a big part of our life, and that we used our gifts and our talents to tell other people about Him. So my dad had an interest in politics and Bible study. So I remember going to his Bible studies. He had like two different places on Tuesdays, and then at another place on Thursdays. He would have businessmen come, and he would just work his way through a Bible.
Random old Bible.
The whole thing.
Not a Bible. A book of the Bible. He just picked different versions, ESV, and I don't even think they had ESV then. And then he was also in politics, so I knew that that mattered to him, and that he wanted to shine his light in the political realm. So lots of campaigns, lots of working campaign offices, and then my mom was really involved in Right to Life stuff. She had a child as a teenager and chose to give my sister life, and so that was really a passion of hers. And then my sister ended up adopting, so kind of a big part of our family. So a lot of working in pregnancy centers and helping out.
Uh-oh. I lost her.
Me too. Saw something. Heather, you
We
there?
lost you, Heather. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Here she's coming back.
oh, good. I'll see here. Well, one day this will probably be. Oh, there's Ann. Okay, Ann.
You know,
how's
this is-
Ann?
Is she there?
Hey,
Good.
how's it going? Good
Going
to have you. There you go. Well, we just lost Heather, but now we have you, so I'm sure she'll pop back on here in a minute. And she was in the middle of telling us a little bit about her and how she got a heart for the Lord. So why don't you jump in and tell us about you and how you got a heart for the Lord and how you got a desire to make him known. You know, we're like.
Well, for one thing, I'm doing this now on my phone. I was trying to do it on the computer, but I wasn't able to make it work.
Were you on Chrome?
Minded Mom. Okay. I'm a mom with 7 kids, and I've written a book called The Mission Minded Family. And I just have a passion for the nations. I have a passion to share with people about Jesus, especially those who've never heard it before. And I love encouraging moms to incorporate a heart for missions in your family and your, however you school your kids, just to encourage your children to grow up with a heart for people that don't know Jesus.
Yes. That's cool. I know. I feel so honored. Hey, a glove. I feel
I've
so
got a glove
honored.
back there too. There's mine.
Ooh, hey. I have a couple, but they're that over that way, Anyway. Okay, so here's the first question. Hopefully Heather will pop back in. So what kinds of things have you guys done to help your kids grow in a heart for the Lord and a heart for making Jesus known? Both like successes and failures. So things that you tried that were like, oh, this was awesome. I got to see God, give him a heart for the Lord. And things that were like, wow, that was totally not something I'm going to do again. So.
I mean, we've done a lot of little things. I like. Oh, did you lose me? And am I there?
Yes, you're there. Okay. I lost your sound for a minute. But
okay. So when my daughter was, are you there, Heather?
Hey, Heather.
Grab my phone. Whatever. Forget.
Right. Hang on, Amanda, real quick. Can you hang on and let Heather finish saying?
Yeah, finish.
Do you happen to remember what you were saying? When we're moms, we can kind of go back to stuff like that, right?
You're gonna stop me. I like about my dad and politics and my mom and
and your mom. Yeah.
And what did I say about my mom?
You said
she gave your daughter life. Your sister life, not your daughter.
Yes. And that they both like model taking their gifts and using it for God's mission. Hold on.
You're great.
Anyway, that's what they modeled. So next.
Okay. So the next question, just to recap, is what things have you done to help your kids have a heart for the Lord and a heart for making him known? Both things that have been helpful, like successes and failures. And then Amanda was sharing.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, the very first thing when I kind of realized that my daughter, that she could do something for the Lord, she was like 4 years old. And we got Clubhouse Junior magazine from Focus on the Family, and they were doing this big thing where they wanted you to collect shoes for this ministry. And now I can't think of the name of it. It's not Shoes for Souls, but it's something like that. And they were collecting shoes for kids in Haiti. And so for some reason, I just thought, we're going to do this. She's 4 years old, but I printed off little forms for her and made her staple them to trash bags and put them on all the mailboxes in our neighborhood because we were having a community yard sale. And we said, hey, we're going to give these shoes away. If you have leftovers from your yard sale, you're cleaning it out, just leave them by your mailbox in the trash bag and we'll come pick them up. So I didn't know if anybody would do it. We went outside that day and there was we filled up our entire truck with this. I was like crying, walking around, picking up all these nasty, dirty shoes, sticking them in the back of our truck. I'm making Lydia do all of this stuff so that she can be a part of it. We had to get all the shoes in the garage and get them all in pairs and box them up. I mean, it cost me $800 practically to send them to Haiti, but it was so worth it because she had this huge thing of she got to collect these shoes and send these shoes and be a part of this really hard thing that she had to do as a 4-year-old. And it sort of started a thing for us that we try to do different things. Heather and I even did some stuff together online and just different things. We've done rockathons, just like me and the kids, and lemonade stands, just all those little things that kids do. But it's given my kids a heart, hey, we should do this. Oh, look, here's Operation Christmas Child stuff. Because they think about it because we do it.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
I think Operation Christmas Child is a great way for people to start in because it's something that could be done so small with just one shoebox. And then you can take a next step and maybe the next year do 20 shoeboxes as a family, or you can get your church to do shoeboxes and, or church, or you can be involved in, going to your local city and being at the distribution, the place where people bought their boxes. Or like Laura, you were with us last year? Were you with us when we went to the Operation Christmas Child?
Yeah, I was at the conference, but couldn't go to the center.
Yeah, in Denver, we went and were a part. We brought a whole bunch of moms and daughters to the Operation Christmas Child Distribution Center.
At the processing center? That's so fun. I've been to it before.
Really cool. Very well organized. And it just was a great use of time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Cool. And Anne, your kids are older, and they have huge hearts for missions. Where did that come from? Did you take them? I believe you did when you were young, like when they were younger, right? How'd you do that?
Well, my husband and I got married really young, and we started having kids really young, and we were doing full-time missions by the time we were like, 21, 22, 1 baby, 2 baby, 3 babies. And so when we started, up until we had 4 kids, we just took the kids everywhere, and we went all over the place, remote places in the Philippines, smuggled Bibles into China, just different places like in the Caribbean, taking mission youth groups down to Mexico, kind of tons of stuff like that. And so like my son Josh, one of his first sermons was when he was 10 years old in Koboko, Uganda, like 10,000 people, and he's pushing his heart out about the fire of Elijah, and he's in the same yesterday, today, and forever. And it was just instilling in our children the heart for the nations. And then when we got more kids, we now have 7. And now they're getting married. Now they're growing up, and we've got 4 going on 6 grandbabies. But our children have a heart for the nations, and they're not all missionaries, but they all love Jesus, and they're all involved in just being a light for him in all sorts of different spheres of influence.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That is so cool. So yeah, do you want to add anything else as far as things that you did to kind of help them grow a heart for the Lord and a heart for the world?
I remember this one time, the same son, Josh, when this was before he took his trip to Africa. The only trips he'd ever been on was when he was really little as a baby, and he didn't really remember those. But my husband was overseas, and it was like around Christmas time, and Josh was in the living room, and he was praying for his dad, and he was just, praying for people to come to know Jesus. And something happened that day. I went into the living room, and Josh was just like sobbing. He was just crying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Josh, what's up? And he just said, I'm just praying for people who don't know Jesus. And he said, I just keep thinking about people who don't know Jesus. And if they don't go to heaven, then they go to hell. And if they go to hell, they'll just be stuck there. And it was just, he just said, they'll just be stuck there. And he's like, Mom, I've never even told anybody about Jesus,
Wow.
And so like God was doing something in his heart, and we came up with an idea to go to a park and have him, we printed out some little 4 spiritual laws tracts, and we went to the park and tried to just find somebody that Josh could tell us. He led a boy named Ray to the Lord, and it just was the beginning of something God stirred in his heart.
Wow, that is huge. I know it really is. I mean, prayer seems like such a big deal, praying that God would give him a desire, to make him known. That's so cool.
I have a question about that. Like what, because, I'm just a mom here. I'm not living overseas or doing anything. And I write about this on Missional Women all the time. And like, is anyone getting bored of me saying the same thing over and over again? Like, I'm just this random old mom. So, how do you, like, my brother and sister-in-law are missionaries, and he's like a traveling evangelist all over the world. He's like in Africa one day, and he's going to Guatemala and whatever. And then we're here like going to Christian school and like, you know, being at a mega church in Metro Atlanta. How do you say, like, both of those things are good? Like, I want my kids to know, if God wants them to be a missionary, then that is amazing. But if he's not, and they're like a coach at a gym or something, that they can be equally missional. How do you like make those even? But even though I don't know how to describe it, but just kind of what you're saying, not all your kids are missionaries, but they still follow the Lord and love the Lord and want to, you know, bring the nations to him or whatever.
Something that helps me is to realize that when Jesus said in Acts, you will be witnesses in Jerusalem and in Judea, in Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth, you know, all at the same time. You have a heart for where you're at, you know, your nation, the surrounding nations. You have a heart for the world, all at the same time. And uttermost parts of the earth, you can show your kids on a globe, you know, where Israel is and where you live. And, you know, it's across the world. You're already on the uttermost
across the world. That's true.
And you are a missionary now, right now, right where you're at.
And you know, it's crazy to think like it. I think I had a misconception for a long time that if you just like went somewhere else, then all of a sudden you would like share the gospel more, you know, but it's like, if we're not doing it now and here, we're not going to do it even if we change our location, you know?
That's true.
So I think it's, Heather, I think having your example, and I'm curious to know what you think, but like as your dad and your mom being involved in politics and pro-life work, like even there, you know, like we have to be able to contextualize no matter where we are, be able to bring the gospel to people, you know, and to teach our kids, like, how are you going to bring the gospel? How are you going to fulfill the Great Commission, no matter where you're at, you know, and be able to think that through in different spheres, because we need people in those spheres, like really, oh man, like politics, we need Christians there that are really seeing that as their mission field, you know, as well as we really need people to go to these little islands. I was reading the kids this morning off of Africa who they think that God hates them, you know, like we just need people everywhere and a willingness to go.
Yeah.
Heather, what would you say to that?
So my husband grew up in a home where his dad is a doctor, and they did missions every summer and would go for months to other countries in Africa, Asia, all over. And so you would think he's going to be a missionary, right? He's going to be a doctor and missionary. No, he's totally a businessman, totally into finance. He works at a web hosting company. But I was realizing this morning, out of our little family of 6, he's the one who interacts with the most non-believers in his day.
Right.
Wow.
And so one of our missions, my mission and the kids' mission, is to support him as best we can. I pray for him each morning. I pray that he would honor God with his words, that he would have appointments. He interacts with people from the homosexual community in his everyday. He's having to help them with major life issues they're having. He's dealt with issues where people that work for him have children in jail. He has had to do ministry more than I've ever done. And he works for a web hosting company. So I do think never underestimate what you can do here in America. It's taking your gifts and making sure your heart is about God and his business, and drawing people through your love of them. So with my boys, it's like we're at a store and I remind them, hey, how you treated your brother right then, do you think that was like showing them the love of Jesus? Like how a brother loves a brother? Was that like different than what they'd expect, or was that exactly what they'd expect two brothers to treat each other? Right. Like not like in a condemnation, but like recognizing you're being a witness as we go about our day, and that's a privilege, and to not miss those opportunities. So
that's so good.
And I another thing I guess probably just fits in here, but like I think taking our kids, kind of like Anne, like you did overseas, probably even just helps foster like, oh yeah, people don't know Jesus, you know. I imagine in Denver there's not that many Christians here, so they kind of see that. But I think even overseas, like it would be kind of like a wake up call, like, oh, there's really a need for people to hear the gospel. And then when they come back, it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, that need is still here too. I think there's like taking our kids overseas is probably really has immense, like huge benefits. But anyway, okay.
I want to mention something about that.
Yeah, go for it.
Our kids organized for it was about a year. They did something called Reach Out, where they would meet in a parking lot in our downtown town area with a bunch of people. And every week they would do something for our community. They would, sweep sidewalks, or they'd pass out cocoa, or, they all sorts of different things. Every week they did something different. Sometimes they went door to door, or sometimes they just went on the streets of our town. And they would share the gospel with people. And my son Mark went every single week to Reach Out. And so at this time, he was like 15, 16 years old. And it was so unsuccessful as far as they weren't leading anybody to Jesus. Mark just said, it just seems like it's not doing any good. But after almost a year of doing this, he was talking to me and said, Mom, I can't tell you how much it has changed my idea of who is the lost. He says, when I talk with people face to face and they just say, I am not interested, that he says now those people have a face. It's not just for people who don't know Jesus, but he has talked to people, and even if they say, will you just leave me alone, or I'm not interested, that still stirs something in our kids' hearts for sharing people.
Yeah.
I know. And I mean, half the time, my kids are super young, and you guys, Heather and Amanda, probably can relate, but they don't say things very well, where it's just like, oh no, how am I going to get out of this? Or they just, sometimes it does go well. Like one time, the pizza man came to the door, and Asher runs, and he goes to grab a gospel tract, and he gives it to the pizza guy, and he's little, he's 4 or something, and he gives it to the guy, and guy's like, no, that's all right, and he's like, but you're in danger, and freaked the guy out. So he kind of took it and wandered off, and we had a bunch of students coming to our house, and they said, hey, the pizza guy's out there sitting in his car reading something. And we thought, oh wow, the guy's using that. But other times it's just they just say things that are really crazy, that are maybe just not appropriate, or
well, my kids just don't even talk at all. They are just completely quiet. They're shy. They're not going to talk to anyone. I could never make them be like, go give this to someone, go ask them. We've collected nickels for sweet sleep. They do mosquito nets for kids, and anyway. And so I had to make a little card so they could hand it out to people and say, my brother and I are collecting nickels for kids, because there's no way they would say anything to them. So we got to get creative.
Wow. That's smart. That's really good. I know. So do you guys have resources or things that have helped you as far as knowing how to help your kids grow in being able to share the gospel?
Something that I have that I stuck on our website this morning is I have this little paper that I hand out when I do workshops that's 10 ideas for mission-minded families. And they're just, ways to incorporate our heart for missions. So that's on our website at daringdaughters.org. It's on the Bible pictures. I just stuck it on that link that I already had up. So,
okay, great. Thanks, Anne. That's awesome.
I did that post for missional women about missional books for kids. And for us, that's been helpful because Laura, you said, take your kids to other countries. Well, that's just, that has not happened unless you count Mexico when we went on a cruise. And that counts, I guess. But so reading books from other countries and reading, we read the Operation Christmas Child book and all those different things, the kids, that really gets them. Or even just reading a book about our sponsored kids in Burkina Faso, even if it's not about Burkina Faso, it could be about Kenya or some African country. To them, that's all in the same place. So that really has helped. Those kind of resources are really helpful, I think.
Yeah. I should have brought, a friend of mine works at Wycliffe Bible, and she sent us this booklet, and it's cartoon characters. It's a girl and like a bird, and they go to all these different countries that don't have Bibles, and it like tells you about the place and their language. And I just felt like it was really interesting. Like it blew my boys' minds that people don't have a Bible in their own language. And so I would look on Wycliffe's website for resources.
Yeah, for the resources.
Yeah.
Cool.
These are my favorite.
Awesome.
YWAM mission biographies, Christian now. We've got a series of these. This is Amy Carmichael and Gladys Elward. These are really good for like middle elementary age kids, to encourage kids to read about, missionaries. Or this is another one. If you have girls, Kisses from Katie is really, really good. Very thought-provoking. It's a great book for girls about having a heart for orphans and the poor.
Oh, that is awesome.
And a really good book by Barna is Revolutionary Parenting. I felt like it was a great book for you to think about how do you pass on your faith, like beyond just like the mission, but like the heart for God and them actually pursuing God as their own faith. It has excellent like research. They basically looked at adult children that were following God and looked back. What did their parents do? And what did they do right? And a lot of it was really just about the parents' heart, that they actually were pursuing God themselves in prayer, and that when something happened, they prayed right away for it. And it was less about like, you had to do family devotions, you had to take mission trips. It was more like the mom and dad pursuing God consistently.
That's awesome.
And modeling that.
Cool. Which you guys are such great examples. I mean, it's so encouraging just to see that you guys had parents that followed the Lord, and here you are. You got to see that example, over here on the side, is that Jamie Bowman? Is that correct? She says, let's see, Sticky Faith is a good book on raising godly kids, which looks good, research-based, which I'd love. And Operation World made a kids one called Windows to the World, which we're reading, and it seems really great so far. I haven't read through all of it, but sure, it's good. Okay, what other tips do you guys have for moms on, because it could be, I mean, sometimes it's so hard when it's just like, wow, I just changed diapers all day long. That's what I did today, and disciplined my kids, that can feel not valuable, even though it is. What tips do you guys have when people are feeling discouraged and like they're not really contributing to what God has for us? And what tips do you have to not get stuck in just doing the day-to-day things? Like, how can we make sure to have a balance, I guess? What tips do you guys have?
I think one thing, like for me, I know my ministry is my kids. And so there's lots of other things I could be doing, but my most important thing is raising my kids. And if I lose my kids, then it doesn't matter what else I've done in the world. If I lost my kids, that would be failure for me. And so as a mom, I think it's important to realize you are fulfilling what God has for you. He put those kids in your life, and you're the mom, and be fulfilled in that, and see that as ministry. Don't look at it like, oh, the stupid thing I have to do right now. My kids are trying to talk to me while I'm trying to be on the internet and write this thing. Well, that's your ministry over there. So turn around and look at them. That's the thing that I have to remind myself. But for me, being stuck at home and being, like I said, Metro Atlanta, and just like we go to private school and all this, our kids, like we talked about Operation Christmas Child already, that is their thing. They love that. And so if there's like a one thing that you can do, you don't have to have all these different things and try to get out of the country and go do all of these different ministries and be a part of everything. But if there's like one thing your kids really are into, especially when they're little, like the way some of our kids are, just find that one thing that they really like and that you really like, and let that be your one mission. And I mean, if that was your job, if you're a grown up, you only have one ministry anyway. So just do that one thing. Ours right now, Lydia is in the ASR packing 100 shoe boxes this year. So that's like our thing. We're not doing lots of missions-y things. But that one thing is taking over a whole life, and it is to them. They are missionaries in their area. So just find one good thing that you like to do. It might be like helping the crisis pregnancy center down the street, or making sandwiches at the so-and-so, or whatever.
Something else I just really want to encourage moms is just for us to be in the Word of God, to just spend time with the Lord himself, not just what you do for God, not just thinking, and to teach our children to be in the Word of God, to love God, I think, you know, in years of being a mom, raising kids and homeschooling and all kinds of different stuff, I think the thing I am like most thankful for is the time I actually spent teaching our kids to memorize the Bible. And you might think, well, you know, what does that have to do with missions? It's like it has everything to do with being missional, and, you know, having a mission-minded heart is to love God and realize the whole thing about missions is to know God, to know his word, to know him.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just realize, you know, the time that you are right now, you know, being a busy at home mom, that can, you know, just as you draw close to God and worship him, God will stir up your heart for other people who need to know him too.
And if we're not faithful, you know,
That's
even
so
with
good.
the little things like wiping counters or bottoms, you know, like then we wouldn't be faithful with other things either, you know, like it is an act of worship, you know, even cleaning,
That is true.
and being, you know, almost like their servants, you know, but it's an opportunity. It's a way to show the Lord that we love him, you know, often as simple as it may be, or unpleasurable as it may be at times, you know. Heather, what tips do you have?
I want. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Ann.
Is sometimes I've seen families, they put their family up as a pedestal where the family itself almost becomes like an idol in their life, where, you know, it's all about family time and being at the soccer games and all of this, when instead of being intentional and eternally minded, and I think there needs to be a balance, because for me, I mean, I'm a mom of 7. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I love being a mom, but there's also a part of who I am that I can't live without also helping other people. It's not like one or the other. Both are a part of who we're called to be.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. I would say, something I found with friends and adults and the struggles to live missionally is when comfort and convenience are top. Like when that is the main goal, is to be comfortable and for things to be convenient, then you're not going to choose to be uncomfortable. We had a friend who's a missionary in China, and he needed a place to stay for a couple weeks. And that's not comfortable. That's not easy for me to have somebody in my house for a couple weeks. And I was really reticent. I was like, for real? And we had like snow days, and so then he'd be upstairs working, my husband would be upstairs working, I'd have all the kids downstairs. It was just not comfortable, but I saw the benefits of it outweigh any bit of uncomfortableness. And so my husband, when he traveled, I think that was the big thing of their missions together, was just seeing the poverty in other countries, 1, and 2, bonding as a family in really uncomfortable situations. He ate some pretty disgusting food. He had to learn to put aside any of his needs for sleep or hunger for whatever their common goal was, which was to serve others. And I don't know. I think that's something that we live a pretty comfortable life here, and I don't know. I think my husband and I are wanting to figure out ways to go outside of this Dallas life and kind of push our boys to some things that make them uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Hard things.
There, we got you back, Ann. I know, and that, like, finding that balance of doing hard things and getting outside of our comfort zone and trying to live, you know, like have a balance of being a mom, being a good mom, but also like keeping our eye on the fact that God has a bigger plan. That can be so hard, and it seems like we can err on either side, you know, but I think that's okay. You know, like we can, as long as we are keeping our focus on Christ and keeping him on the throne, you know, like Bill Bright talked about, or like letting him live his life through us, then it's like, it's okay. It's okay if we fail on this side or another. Like God will keep showing us how to kind of get back. It's like this process of, oops, that was maybe too much for the family, or, oh, wow, I don't think I've actually even thought about making Jesus known for 3 months, or, like depending on him, like he'll lead us, as long as we're clinging to him as tightly as we can,
Yeah, it's just what Ann said about the whole point is not about us ticking off things and doing things. The whole thing is about Jesus and about serving him and about loving him. So if that's what we're doing, if we're loving him, it could be at baseball. It could be
for the young mom who's holding the baby. Like
to
me, we get to be the hands and the feet of Jesus to our children. When they get to be adults and they're thinking about God and love and what does that mean, these abstract things, the tangible things are going to be the time we spent investing in them, reading to them, cuddling with them. So there is a balance of making them uncomfortable and in inconvenient situations, but with the comfort of our love and knowing that our firm foundation is God.
Yeah, well said. That is good.
Something that I like to think is, and that as a family, we are to aim our arrows and to shoot them out. Well, if you think of it's attached on two sides, it's not just attached on one side really hard, like, your family and your personal relationship with the Lord, but it's also your heart for others. And, so it's like, your ministry at home and your personal relationship with God, but then it's also your ministry to others. And there's that balance, kind of even that tug that you're trying to find the right.
Tension. That's a good face.
I lost her.
Yeah, there is that tension. That's right. Katie, that is so good. Did you guys see what Katie wrote over there?
Yeah. Love for our home, our family,
there you are.
But
we got your audio.
Oh, here she comes.
Oh. Wow. Man. Well, it'd be nice when this isn't in beta anymore. I won't have issues like this.
I know.
Yeah.
Makes you not feel bad. It happens to everybody, though.
Well,
so that's
let's see. So, is there any does anybody have any questions that they want to type out in the comments, the things that we didn't really talk about, or any other comments? If not, well, why don't you share, Amanda and Heather and Anne, if you can hear me. I'm not sure if she can hear me, but just share where people could find you and if they can get in touch with you, or books that you wrote, or things like that.
I am over at God Centered Mom.
Go ahead.
GodCenteredMom.com. I'm so self-centered.
She's so.
It is an aspiration, not a. Anyway, and then I have a podcast on iTunes under God Centered Mom.
Woo! What do you talk about?
What do I talk about? I interview women. A variety is either authors, kind of inspiring us, older women, mentoring and giving us wisdom, and a lot of discipleship stuff. How do you pray, read the Bible, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And some parenting. Awesome. I've got a guy on this week who's helping with school stress, like how to stay calm.
Ooh.
Homework battles and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. God-centered mom. Awesome. Okay. Man.
And I am at oamanda.com, and I rarely blog anymore. I have written a lot of words in the past 10 years, and I don't have a lot more words to say, but I write at missionalwomen.com also once a month. And I have a book for Easter and for Christmas, or devotional family type books. One's called Truth and Potential. That's coming up very soon.
Wonderful. Okay. And let's see, Anne, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you, and books you've written or things that you think would be helpful for us? Can you hear me? Good idea.
Or type it in the comments. And
is it Daring? I think it's Daring Daughters.
Because I want to know. This is the first time I've ever met Anne.
Yeah, she's also written a couple books. The Mission-Minded Family. Oh, there you go. Go for it, Anne. I think. Okay.
You do it, Laura.
Yes, mission-minded family and mission-minded child. And I think their website might be harvest.org. I'm totally
She wrote
butchering
it.
this.
She wrote it. Daringdaughters.org.
Oh, good. Okay, daringdaughters.org. And
Oh, good. Yeah, just make sure you click on her, and you can follow her on Twitter and
awesome.
follow her on
Well,
Blab right
do you
here.
have anything else you want to say, Amanda, or add, Heather? Okay.
Good.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful, to get to chat with you
Thanks
guys and
for
stuff.
having us.
Thanks.
I haven't.
And yes, we'll see you guys
So
later.
fun, thank you.
And
Fist bump.
just try to okay, yes. All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Bye.
I think I'm doing it. There you go.